Okay, hopefully they hung in there long enough to still Zoom with me this morning because we got to talk about next week. And whoa, what happened? Bring it back. And how weird next week is going to be. Hey, sorry. So apparently, and this isn't the first time I've done it, but apparently I signed in under my school email address for my Zoom, but forgot that you guys are set up under my personal Zoom email address. My God, I cannot get my life together. Okay, I know Dalton and somebody else was on and trying to figure out what was happening with Zoom. So let me make sure I can get him in here and whoever else was able to join us this morning and hang in there for me to figure out what in the world I did. Okay, one thing we got to talk about is what's coming up, what things are going to look like after this week. I will be working on the October calendar this week. I was kind of waiting and dragging my feet, there he is, just a little bit to hear what was going to happen at the faculty meeting on Friday. Okay, good morning. I apologize. I had the wrong Zoom meeting up and going and was just hanging out with myself for a few minutes. Okay, another thing that I've got to figure out is I made my list last week of who is A day, who's B day, who's all online and all the things. And then I got to keep reminding myself that it's even more complicated than that because it's freshmen, sophomore that come back ABE day first, and then juniors and seniors, but you guys don't come back, or juniors and seniors don't, until after fall break. And so I don't know, it's kind of an odd schedule situation, all the things. So I say that to say that today and Wednesday are going to be our last Zooms like this, just because whenever I start, well, not just me, all teachers next week start back with freshmen and sophomores, we'll be teaching during the day and will only be available to you guys between like 2 and 4 is kind of what they have set up as our like online time. Now I understand that it's going to be kind of a pick and choose situation, that if you have all your teachers that are trying to get up with you and Zoom and do different things between that time, I get it. It's going to be kind of a hard situation for you to pick. I'm going to try to kind of coordinate the best I can and make sure that if I do want to try and Zoom, that you guys aren't already doing something for another class during that same time. Now, I'll have your assignments up first thing in the morning like usual. So that won't be a thing. You will have time if you want to go ahead and bust out your assignment first thing in the morning to kind of get back in that routine, or stay, I should say, for you guys to stay in the routine of being up in the morning. Your assignment will be up like it usually is first thing in the morning. And then if we want to try and Zoom and talk between that 2 and 4 time period, I might pick maybe 1 or 2 days to do that after I send out kind of remind messages and get an idea of who would even be available. Because if it's not going to be worth our time, then we won't worry about it, you know. And I want everything to be worth our time. Mine as well as yours, obviously. Okay, so like I said, after this week, everything really changes gears. And the only thing that I did not do after I made my schedule last week is I did not go back and look to see who are my sophomores, freshmen, juniors, seniors, so that I know when everybody is actually returning, if you chose to return. And it looks like for the most part, you guys are going to be returning on A day, which is Monday, Tuesday. It's just a matter of, are you coming back next week, or are you coming back on the 19th? I have theoretically put our field experience, and this, again, I had to kind of guess as to whether or not we would still be in this A day, B day world If we are, I have A-Day field experience starting November the 2nd and running through the month of November. B-Day will start that Wednesday of the first week of November. So we'll just kind of see how that goes. If it has to change again, it has to change again. It is what it is. But as of right now, I have that set up for November, which gives us the, I shouldn't say rest of October. We're not there yet. But when we do get into October, it gives us the days that we are together to practice forming mini lessons. Maybe do some observation more at the high school level. Again, I don't want to make any promises about being able to see elementary or middle, because I still need to kind of get a feel for how those teachers and administrators feel about that. Plus, kind of hear from you guys and who's interested in doing some observations prior to your field experience. So again, those are things that we're still going to have to kind of feel out as we get just a little bit closer. For juniors and seniors, obviously that won't give you guys but a couple of weeks in the classroom. So I kind of am debating whether or not I want to use any of that precious time to do observations. But anyway, I don't want to say that I'm cutting it completely. We're still going to see, because, you know, things are still changing as we get closer and closer. So, anyway, I just want to give you guys a heads up as to what I'm still working out the kinks on. For Wednesday, I am looking at having, and again, I can't make any promises. It just depends on everybody's schedule, and as long as nothing pops up. But Wednesday, I am looking at having a kind of a combo Zoom with some administrators, hopefully at different grade levels, as well as some special ed teachers speaking with us as kind of a one last, and I'm going to really try as best I can to encourage as many TC1s and possibly 2s to join in on that one before we start the transition into next week. Okay. Now, the other thing that we wanted, or I wanted, I should say, to do is, if you were able to join us in today's Zoom, is talk about your assignments, which is called the label game. And we've kind of touched on this just a little bit, especially from the high school perspective. And well, we did a little bit from the middle school too, you know. It's more common once you hit middle school, and even more so once you hit high school, to feel like everybody has these labels that are put on them. And it's not necessarily something that, you know, well, sometimes it's something that a person pushes. They want themselves to be labeled a certain way, and then sometimes it's just what peers label them, and it's not necessarily something that they want to be labeled, but it might be just something they get stuck with. And I wanted you guys to kind of take a minute to share. I mean, it is 2 parts, a little bit of a writing component, and then the other is to either share during Zoom or share through doing a quick little video discussing it. But I gave you some examples of labels, and again, you can just talk about it from a high school perspective. Here's it kind of has your essential question along with it. What are some common labels that occur through stereotyping, and how does it feel to be labeled? So I gave you some examples, you know, somebody who's called the smelly kid, the rich kid, the slow kid, the religious kid. You know, you could think about, you know, jocks versus you know, brainiacs or nerds or whatever. I mean, there's all these labels, and even, you know, cliques that we say that people are in. But kind of take just a minute, you guys, and talk to me. And again, it doesn't have to be anything that you feel personally labeled, but it could be an example of something that you have maybe seen a friend or a classmate go through, and maybe how that affected them, especially in their journey. Did it help, or did it hurt their high school experience? And take just a minute to share this morning before we get ready to move on. Dalton, if you don't mind getting us started off, just an example.
I would say the religious kid, because my friend has been labeled that before because she likes to read her Bible and stuff, and she likes to talk about Christianity. I think it affected her goodly because, like, she, like, opened people's minds up and she let the world know about Jesus Christ.
Okay, awesome, good. Yeah, that's a good example. Lily, how about you? Throw an example at us.
I think a lot of people are labeled based on if they're different from like the normal crowd of where you live. I think it's really dependent on the area that you live in because labels aren't usually associated with people that are similar to everyone else. It's normally if you are unique and maybe it could be related to like your interests. But I think some people don't want to be labeled because it kind of excludes the possibility of you changing and having a different part of you being seen because that's only one aspect of who you are or how people see you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That kind of brings in psychology into this, that you feel like you have to live up to a certain label or expectation, especially if somebody has told you, your whole life, oh, you're so dumb, you can't do it, you're not capable, you're not smart, you just need to go and, do something different with your life. You're never going to be good enough to be, doctor, lawyer, whatever, because let's say that you had your heart set on a certain profession, and then you just kind of keep getting beat down over and over and over again by somebody else that has labeled you or set certain expectations for you, and that is kind of a hard obstacle to overcome. You have to mentally get yourself across that bridge and past those certain labels and expectations, and sometimes that's a lot easier said than done. So a lot of times labels are not necessarily a good thing. A lot of times labels will get stuck in us mentally and really bring us down mentally and emotionally. And we feel like we just can't get past that wall that we ended up setting up ourselves because maybe we believed it, or maybe we just gave up and decided, you know what, they're right. I can't do anything better. So we as educators have to recognize those situations in the classroom, and as best we can, if we do know a student is not pushing to their potential, because we know they're capable, we know they're smart, we've seen them do great things, but they might not be pushing themselves for one reason or another. And we want to make sure that they shine as bright as they possibly can, because sometimes we see something that they might not see in themselves, or we might see something that maybe they have forgotten about or they don't believe anymore. And so we kind of have that opportunity. Like I said, a teacher is many things, not just a teacher. We're a coach, we're a support system, we're counselors sometimes, we're mentors, we're all these different hats, I guess you could say, because every student needs something different. Every student is in a very different situation, and they might need something different depending on their situation, their circumstances, all the above. So that is one of the exciting things about being a teacher, is that you have the opportunity every year, every day, every year, to change somebody's life and change it hopefully for the better. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like there aren't teachers out there that probably should not be in the teaching profession, because I've seen it. And, sometimes these individuals, they, I guess, kind of feel stuck and have not motivated themselves to move out, because maybe, teaching is not for everybody. It is not for everybody. But there are great teachers out there. And the whole purpose, hopefully, is not only to teach you something, but hopefully encourage you to be the best that you can be. And hopefully make sure that at the end of the day, at the end of the year, at the end of the semester, that there's something special about everybody in the classroom. And hopefully they help you to know that, or somebody does. We've all had good teachers out there that have been inspirational one way or another. You're not going to jive with every teacher regardless, you know, and every teacher's not going to jive with every student. We all have different personalities, and sometimes those personalities will clash. It is what it is. We are human, and that we can't really change that much of. But we can do the best to our ability to be kind, to be positive, and to be inspiring every day. All right, guys, I'm going to stop there. Thank you for participating. Again, this, because you participated in Zoom, counts as your video portion. So I do want you to make sure that you take a few minutes to go and do just the quick write-up response and give examples. Again, doesn't have to necessarily be about you, but to give examples, whether it's high school or middle school examples of labeling and how you saw that affect an individual. Okay. All righty. Any questions, comments, concerns? No? Okay. All right. So just another reminder, and I'll make sure that I post this Google Classroom, do a remind message, all the things, that Wednesday will be our last 9 to 9:20, 9 to 9:30, depending on what it is, Zoom meeting before next week I start teaching in person with sophomores, freshmen. We are everybody across the board, virtual during the week of fall break. And if I feel like it's beneficial to Zoom, I'll let you know in advance. If not, we might just do our activities that week, and then I'll see everybody else the week of the 19th. Okay, and I'm going to try to have up that special Zoom for our last potential Zoom on Wednesday with some administrators and special ed teachers, and hopefully get more to join us on that one. Fingers crossed. So, all right, that's what's coming up. I am going to work on your October calendar and get that to you as soon as possible as well. If you need me, reach out. If not, happy Monday. Bye, guys.